Chapter 85. Dr. Lewis, I'm sorry to bother you, sir, but those 2 FBI agents are back to see you. Wonderful. Show them in, Marcia. Lewis jumped from his chair and almost ran to his door. The 2 agents walked in with a boldness that made Lewis take a few steps back. Dr. Lewis, Devin stated firmly, please sit. Lewis sat in the chair between the 2 sofas and looked seriously at Devin and then to Carrie and then back to Devin. What's wrong? How could you? Carrie screamed at him. How? Why? Oh, I see. I guess you found her, Lewis stated calmly. Devin and Carrie looked at each other with questions running across their faces. You used her, then you stabbed her in the back, Carrie screamed at Lewis. No, you're wrong. We hunted and killed a serial killer. Our precious Maddie is still very much alive and well. Devin gave Lewis an evil look and replied, You're a very sick man, Dr. Lewis. Yes, Carrie cried, sick. Lewis stood and walked to his kitchenette and poured himself a drink of bourbon. The ice tingled as it hit the sides of his glass. Want a drink? He asked the 2. They shook their heads. No. Do you expect us to keep quiet about this? Carrie cried. You ruined a life, Dr. Lewis. Do you expect us to remain silent unless that is you're going to kill us too? Lewis had to chuckle over her last statement. He smiled at her and took a seat. All 3 were quiet as he finished his drink. He put both of his elbows on his knees and looked up at them. The ice slid from one side to the other in his now empty glass. How would you 2 like a real job? He asked with a mischievous smile. He then raised his glass and said, Cheers. Chapter 86. Thomas was reading the morning paper and enjoying his first cup of coffee for the day when Ellie, with a belly ready to explode, entered. Good morning, young lady, Thomas greeted her. Hey, Ellie stated, rubbing her back. Are you okay? Ellie rolled her eyes. I'm okay for a woman who's ready to give birth at any moment. Oh, that. Well, my wife had 2, and there's another one on the way. You'll be fine, he said nonchalantly. Thanks. Don't forget, today's my last day for a while. Oh, I did. So, what do I do while you're away having this baby? He asked, putting his paper down and staring up at her with concern. Just like a man, thinking only of yourself. What do you want me to do, have this kid at my desk? No, it's just that it's all happened so fast. It seems like only yesterday that we hired you. I was pregnant when you hired me, remember? Yes, but I didn't. Look, everything will be fine. There's a temporary worker who'll be here bright and early Monday morning to take good care of you. Now, you be nice to her. Oh, no, you don't, Thomas yelled, jumping from his chair. No temps, no way. Come off it, will ya? She wasn't hired to kill you. She was hired to answer the phones and type a few letters. You'll be fine. Anyway, I met her, and she's a really nice lady. Fine. Thomas flung his arms into the air. But the first time she says anything about being a temp and working for the agency, she's out of here. I'm sure you'll be just fine. You have my home number, right? So if she brings out any poisons or guns or anything that's not safe, call me, okay? I'll come rescue you. Someone needs to rescue you. Allie laughed as she left his office. What a nutcase, she said to herself as she closed the door. Chapter 87. Thomas sat at his desk reviewing the Monday morning paper. The green witch that Marlena had strategically placed on his desk for Halloween continuously stirred a cauldron filled with candy and stared menacingly at him. Fine, look at me that way, but you'll see. I'll be dead by the end of the week, he scolded the witch, who did not reply. He looked at the clock on his desk. It was 7:45. His door opened. Thomas jumped and knocked his calendar off the desk. Hey, good morning, Mr. Jumpy, Snyder greeted. Sorry, didn't mean to spook ya. Cute witch. He grabbed a piece of candy and chewed. As Snyder turned to leave, Thomas asked, Lunch today? Sure. I put the coffee on, he said, still chewing the taffy from the green witch. Our assistant isn't here yet. Thomas leaned back in his chair and felt a little better. Perhaps that temporary lady wouldn't show up after all. He was sure that he and Snyder would be just fine by themselves for the next few weeks. He picked up his calendar from the floor and looked over his appointments for the day when he heard a soft knock at his door. Yes, he asked. The door opened slowly. and a steaming hot cup of coffee entered the room, being carried by an older woman in a tan pantsuit. As she limped toward him, holding the hot coffee, Thomas began to cry. The tears flowed without stopping, and he didn't know what to do but shake. "Your coffee, sir," the woman said as she placed the cup in front of him. He stood and stared into her eyes. He wrapped his arms around her and hugged as hard as he could. She returned the affection by snuggling her face deep into his neck. They hugged each other, crying, for several minutes before Thomas held her out to get a good look. "You're as beautiful as ever," he said between sobs. "I owe you an explanation, Toby, an apology for what we put you through," she said through her tears, "but it was necessary. And I promise it will all make sense." "Hey, you," she said, wiping his tears away with her hand. "Want to have a carpet picnic with me, little boy?" "Any time, any place, but only with you, Mom." Dr. Lewis stood at his window, staring up into the heavens. "Life is wonderful," he yelled. "I knew you could do it. Thank you." And he kissed his hands before raising them to the bright sun that was just peeking through the trees. The end. Or is it? All right, we got through this ridiculously long chaptered book. First of all, number one, again, I am not a professional reader, so I do stumble and my lips stick together and my tongue gets all upside down and backwards, and oh yeah, I mess up a whole line. So it's taken me quite some time to read this whole book. But what I wanted to say was this was the first book that I ever wrote, and there are so many errors in it. I paid a company. Anybody who looks at it on Amazon will see who published it for me. I paid probably close to about $12,000 to $15,000 to this company to get this book in print, a ridiculous amount of money. And then I paid $5,000 to a private editor. And oh my God, there's so many errors in here. One of the errors that I'm seeing over and over again, whenever you have two people having a conversation, each conversation has to be in a separate paragraph. And so many of these are bumped up together. Now that could just be a program error, but it should have been caught. The other thing is that the tense is flipping back and forth between the book. And then the one thing that's really driving me crazy is 87 chapters. No novel should have 87 chapters. So when we go back through and re-edit this book, many of these chapters will be combined so that we will definitely cut the chapters way down. I'm hoping to get down to maybe 30 chapters at the most. 80 something is ridiculous. I'm using the chapters in this book as section breaks instead of, it's ridiculous. So crazy. But anyway. Another thing that I noticed is that Dr. Lewis's secretary's name changed halfway through the book. She was Connie in the beginning, and all of a sudden she's Martha. Big boo-boo. So in the next book that I wrote, I ended up giving him two of them. An editor should have caught that, and he did not. I need to look closer at Devin. I thought he was a police officer in the beginning, but I'm beginning to think now that maybe he worked for the FBI. But then if he did work for the FBI, why was he placed in Oklahoma? It doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to have to take a better look at that. So as you all listen to my story, if you have any questions, I would love to answer them for you. But this is horrible. A couple other programs that I hope to do is I want to show how we actually edit the books here at Indignor House. So I think I will pull some of these sections up and actually edit them and film myself as I'm editing them and explaining why I'm making the changes that I'm making. Here at Indignor House, we want to teach and train as well as publish books. So once again, we're looking for new authors. And if you're a new author and you need a lot of help, don't be afraid. Look at all the help I need for this first one I wrote. As long as your story is good, we want it, and we will massage it, and we will make it better, and we will publish it, and we will not charge you. Okay? We pay advance royalties. It may not be a lot. It may only be a few $100s until we get bigger and have more income coming in. But for right now, a few $100s is all it takes to be able to say that you are truly a traditionally published author. There's no need for you to go out and pay somebody thousands and thousands of dollars. My first 3 books I published through this one place. They are considered a vanity press, and I paid about $15,000 per book, and that is unacceptable. The other thing is, if you hear some kids in the background, those are my grandchildren. If you hear some banging of the doors, I apologize. That's our garage door. If you hear some thumps, or if my words seem to jump, that's the kids jumping upstairs. So I'm new at this. I'm learning, but I hope to get the other books up soon. But I have some other pressing things to take care of, so it'll be a while before I work on the next one. So enjoy this book, and we hope that you enjoy it, and that you did enjoy it, or you do enjoy it, or did enjoy it, whatever. But please contact us. We're in Dignor House. You can find us at www.indignorhouse.com. And if you liked what we did, or even if you didn't like, please subscribe and hit the little clicky button so you'll be notified when we update our YouTube channel. Also, we're opening up channels on the new sites as well, and I will put, if YouTube will allow me, I'll put links in there so that you'll be able to find us on Parler and some of the other places. So anyway, y'all have a great evening or a great day, and life is wonderful, and God bless.